Good afternoon. And to those I haven't had a chance to see since the Muslim Women's Story Lab, I say good afternoon also, Kehan in particular. Let's see. I'd like to give you a little history about the work that we've been doing around giving a platform, creating a platform for women to tell their own stories. Briefly, Women in Islam was founded in 1992 in direct response to the rape atrocities that were happening in Bosnia at that time. And we felt the urgency to create a platform for women's voices to be heard on the issues that were impacting Muslim women specifically. And it was at that time that we realized the necessity, the really crushing necessity of having a platform for Muslim women's voices to be heard on issues that were obviously impacting Muslim women. So that was the genesis of creating our organization, Women in Islam, which is a Muslim women's human rights organization, and we're going into our 25th year. We started the work of trying to carve out a space for Muslim women's voices to be heard over a decade ago. We started by co-authoring a little booklet that talked about reclaiming our religious heritage, our Islamic heritage, in relationship to how we access the mosque and other Islamic organizations. And part of that work was to say, we are no longer content to be relegated to second-class citizenship in our spiritual places, and that we wanted not to reform Islam or to create a new Islam or an American Islam, but rather we wanted to reclaim the legacy of the Prophet Muhammad and to garner that example, which was very inclusive of women in the mosque. So that is to say that we root our work in our Islamic tradition. That was some decades ago, and you can imagine there was a lot of pushback on a very modest attempt at that time. We took that little booklet and went into Islamic communities that would invite us in to talk about the work that we were trying to undertake, and those communities that were open to receiving us, to allow us to conduct workshops there, were very useful, and we used those as models to say, this is a community that opened its doors, that actually invited us to come in and conduct the work that we were trying to do to get at the traditions that were already ours, and to not have to subjugate our women to second-class citizenship, if you will, in their spiritual places. So we went from there to very, very fast forward. We learned about a woman in Turkey, in Istanbul. I'll try to pronounce her name. She was a deputy mufti, and we read about this article in the paper where she had been given a portfolio to go to all of the mosques in Istanbul to remove the barriers in the mosque so that the woman would have free access. So we invited her to come to New York with the cooperation of the Organization of Islamic Conference to have her talk about the methodology that she used to remove the barriers. I'll try to pronounce her name. She was Deputy Mufti Kadriya Aveci Erdili. I have a Turkish friend and she'll correct me later. So that was the beginning of our session in inviting Kehan Irani and Gail Burton to partner with us to develop some new tools to try and get at this storytelling. And so, particularly the martial arts, the theater of the oppressed techniques. And those of us who may be familiar with theater of the oppressed techniques know that they've been used throughout Latin America and quite literally globally now for people to access tools to work for their own freedom and liberation. So I would like to say that the Muslim Women's Story Lab was something that we eagerly sought after to provide some new tools for our work in opening up spaces for Muslim women on the issues of access to mosques and other Islamic institutions, to address Islamophobia, because women, Muslim women in particular, are in the trenches and on the front lines in terms of buffering some of the abuses that are happening, and specifically in the United States, and also more broadly about Muslim women's leadership. So I look forward to your questions and comments, critique. Thank you so much.